Welcome back to the 30-day Jiu-Jitsu Mobility Challenge. Today is all about working on your tight hip flexors. In Jiu-Jitsu, the position with your knees to chest in a guarded, shelled up position is very common. But this is great for Jiu-Jitsu. However, it really tightens your hip flexors. So today, we're going to work on the antagonist motion and open those hip flexors up, which should give you some relief in your tight hip flexors and make more movement and more range of motion available to you. Let's get straight into it. You'll need a wall because we're going to go into my favorite exercise, my favorite mobility work for Jiu-Jitsu, the couch stretch. So start with your left knee close to the wall, as close as you can comfortably get it. And I really want you to come up on the instep of your foot here. I don't want you to be on your toe on the wall. I want you to come up on the instep. Now, if this is too much for you to handle though so far, you can come back down to level 1. This is level 1 for the couch. Now, it's important to remember with the couch stretch that you want to keep your glutes engaged. So really flex your glutes throughout the entire duration of you being in couch stretch. If you can't maintain a contraction of your glutes, flexing your glutes, then you need to come back down to the previous level. So this is level 1. So we're going to hang out here, make sure we're comfortable, and then send your foot up into a big long lunge, big step in front of you into level 2. Remember to keep your glutes engaged. Keep your glutes active. If you want, you can come and tap your glutes just to make sure that they're on. I like to do that throughout the couch stretch as a truth test to make sure I'm not lying to myself. I'm keeping my glutes active. Now, you can have your hand up on your knee. You can have your hand resting on something if you need to balance, or you can have your hand on your foot. Make sure that you're engaging your glutes, and you can even sink in a little bit to your hip flexor here, into your hip, to get a little bit more activation there. As a reminder, make sure you maintain a large breath volume out your nose. Don't be holding your breath while you're listening to me waffle on all the instructions. In a moment, we're going to come up to level 3 in the couch, but let's just keep ourselves orientated in a straight line, keep our glutes engaged. Bring your hand up onto your to rest your hand on to balance, and stand up if you can with me into level 3 couch stretch. Remember to keep your glutes active. Your glutes need to stay on. If you cannot keep your glutes engaged in this position, then send it back down into a level 2 or even level 1 if you need. Feel free to come in and out of this position. This is pretty intense, particularly if you have tight hip flexors. If you are a guard player and you're being shelled up with your knees buried to your chest a lot, then you may have tight hips. Or even if you work at a desk, or maybe you do a lot of driving for work or something along those lines, then you may have tight hip flexors, because we spend a lot of the day in that tight hip flexor, knees to chest, legs up, sort of in a seated position, which, I mean, is great for guard, but it can play some havoc on your ability to move. So we're trying to counteract that with the couch. Give yourself a butt tap, make sure that your glutes are engaged. If you want, you can send your hands up to the wall to make this more difficult. Or if you're a pro at couch, maybe you can give me some pulses here as I'm talking through. Just pulse forward into end range. Make sure you're keeping your glutes active the whole time. Just send it with some pulses. Alternatively, you can put something on your foot in front to elevate your foot. If you're at the gym, maybe that could be in the form of some weights stacked up, and that will make this a little bit more challenging as well. Please ensure that you have at least a soft mat or a towel, a blanket, a pillow underneath your kneecap. If you do this on hard floors, it can irritate your knees, so make sure that you have something to soften the impact on your knee. It's not about, hardening your kneecap. It's about working your hip flexor to improve that, to release your hip flexor, I should say. All right, let's come back down now, and we're going to swap over. So remember what we did last time. Knee to the wall, down at level 1, foot nice and flat, up against the wall, and we're going to squeeze our glute here and see if we can maintain this position with the integrity of keeping our glute active and squeezed. I have no problems with that, so I'm gonna go straight up into level 2. Try to keep your hips orientated in a straight line here as well. You don't wanna be like twisted or anything like that. Try and keep your hips straight, glutes engaged. Give yourself a tap on the glutes to make sure that they're turned on the whole time. And remember to breathe. This can be pretty intense for people. So if you are unable to progress past level 2, if this is where you're at, then this is where you're at. That is perfectly fine. You can really use your breath volume here to breathe deep into your hip flexor and really give yourself some, really open up your hip flexor just with your breath volume. Make sure you keep your glutes active and turned on the whole time. And if you want, you can really sink your hip down toward the mat and really sink into this, or just keep your glute active. Maybe even give some little pulses here. You can place your hand on something to balance if you need to, but in a moment, I'm gonna come up into level 3. So if you can, join me up in level 3. Now, if you need to balance on something, you're more than welcome. If you want to engage with your core and focus in on keeping your rib cage in and down, you can. We don't want to be banana backing. We really want to keep our rib cage in and down and focus on the integrity not only of our glute squeeze, but also our core to make sure that we're not really extending our back and being in a banana back. Now, as a reminder, like we did on our left side, you can work in some little pulses here. If you want to level it up a little bit, add in some pulses forward to really sink into that, just touching that end range and come out. Ensure that you keep your glutes turned on the whole time. This is an active mobilization. This is not a static sort of, just hanging out, pulling on the tissues. We're really trying to create some change, create some stimulus by staying active in this couch stretch. So reminder, if you would like to, you can send your hands up to the ceiling. It will level up this position for you a little bit. And feel free to come in and out of this position. If you can't hang out for as long as the video in this couch stretch level 3, then feel free to drop back down to level 2 or even level 1 and rejoin us when you can. Reminder, keep your glutes active. Give yourself a butt tap. Make sure that you're not getting lazy. Recommit to that glute squeeze. It's really important that you keep your glute active. Otherwise, you're not getting the effectiveness of this exercise. Okay, let's come back down onto both knees here. I'm gonna walk it forward from the wall. Now we're gonna do a frog stretch modified. So this is a dynamic version of a frog stretch. So what you want to do is have your knees be on all fours, have your knees approximately 1.5 times shoulder width, or just outside of shoulder width will do. And then what we're going to do is we're going to push back into the frog stretch and then lift up out and bring our foot with us in this sort of flare your foot and twist your foot. You should feel this in your high glute, in your hip, even in your groin for the frog. So we push back in the frog, so we pull out, we twist our foot. And now the left side, we twist. So we push back into frog, bring out and bring our foot with us. Let's keep going for reps. A reminder to breathe deep through your nose. Couple more. And leave it there. If you'd like to, you can do some more rounds of that. You can go back to couch, give 10 pulses each side, then come back to that modified frog stretch, give 10 reps each side there. So this is a really good couplet that you can use either just before jiu-jitsu as a warm-up or in your daily mobility practice, like in this challenge.